Yeah, I've got another thing to talk about. A lot of the stuff, a lot of the things that I like to talk about, they're interrelated. We're considering going to war in Ukraine. And we think about, we know that Russia and China are ahead of us, and as far as nuclear armaments are concerned, and the Russians, like they're talking tough. They're saying things like, "Well, if it comes down to it, we might have to use nuclear weapons." Of course, and of course, eventually we know that eventually we're going to have to back out of this thing. If they decide to use nuclear weapons, especially if China's going to back them up. And if we really wanted to fix this thing, if we really wanted to make the Russians and the Chinese stop thinking about expansion, we would build up our nuclear armaments, and then if and then if they wouldn't stop, they'd stop talking about, when push comes to shove, we'll use them because they'd be scared. And we're the world's economic powerhouse, and I think the media is trying to convince us that we aren't. And if we were a really free country, if we allowed our children, now here's where it all ties in. If we allowed our children to get jobs if they want to, uh, and learn how to hold a job. Learn simple things like, coming to work on time and doing what you're asked and being polite to the customer. Simple things like that. Our country would be stronger again, and then and if we got rid of the minimum wage so that more people could get jobs and get a foothold in the job market, then that would strengthen our economy too. So, and we could afford all those armaments. And the other thing is, I mean, with this surveillance tech, we've got stuff that we can figure out whether they're even thinking about starting a war. We've got stuff where if they shot a missile at us, we could turn it around and make it go at them. I mean, we've got this wormhole tech. We could have it fly into a wormhole and land in Xi Jinping's backyard. you know but I mean, the real problem is we've got a bunch of crooks in national security. But even if we only believe what people in the mainstream news are trying to tell us, we'd still come out on top. We don't need to anyway. That's what's wrong with if we just were free, allowed our worked for freedom in our country, we wouldn't have to worry about countries like Ukraine. They wouldn't try to expand. The Russians wouldn't invade them. We don't need to get it. If we would just do what we should do to begin with, we wouldn't have to worry about communism spreading all over the world, and people like this doing things like this. So anyway, that's only 3.5 minutes. Isn't that great? So and the thing is, it's like it would also benefit our economy. For heaven's sakes, like like there's so many young people that love their parents and or they come from single families, or maybe they just need things, or maybe they want things. Maybe they want to buy an Xbox or something like that. Uh, so it's and I mean I told you there was this kid that had a paper route, and he always had money for things. We envied that kid. It's natural for kids. They aren't protecting anyone. They are ruining our youth. They want to ruin our youth. They want to they want to control them. They want to weaken them, and they want to weaken all of us so they can molest our children. These politicians are a bunch of sick people. The people in media and the people, the financiers. I was talking, this is on another related subject. I was talking before, about like looking at the resume, looking at the people in the past. Do you think George H.W. Bush would have ever got elected if the mainstream news would point out that his grandfather financed Hitler? You know, I mean, this is a well-known fact that he was one of the bankers that financed Hitler. You know, that Hitler borrowed a whole bunch of money from United States banks to get money to start the Second World War. You know, do you think now if you're a crook, if you're one of these crooks, and you can get somebody like George H.W. Bush elected, don't you think that would give you a lot of confidence? You know, it's like, they look at the American people and they just think we're fools. You know, they can do anything. They can get us to do anything to get, and everybody thinks that George H.W. Bush is a is no, not a, but they think he's a conservative, but he comes from a long line of traitors. You know, and it's like, he comes from a family of traitors. His dad was another globalist. He's talking about the new world order and everything. And these people, there's a conspiracy, to like start to ruin our government and take it away from us. And these people are crooks. And the media is a big part of the problem. The media is not doing its job. They're supposed to tell us what's going on. They're supposed to, like, if they come from a family of crooks, they're supposed to tell us about it. And they don't. It's like we don't know anything about these people. We don't know any, and this is all common. It should all be common knowledge. I mean, you can find this is a historical fact. So anyway, that's what's going on lately. That's my 7 minutes for you. Don't stay away from the mainstream news. Those people are they're do you need to know anything more to know there's a conspiracy among these people to undermine our government? They don't tell us that there are so many simple facts that they just leave out, that they make sure nobody knows, and it's all about being entertained. If you watch the news, they've got pretty young girls, and they're all dressed in their best clothes, and everything. When I was a kid, we used to watch Walter Cronkite. He's an old man, with glasses, and back then, people wanted people that were that looked knowledgeable, that looked old, that had experience. That's what they wanted. But now they want somebody glamorous, and good to look at, and it's like, it's like entertainment, and of course, you've got an 8 hour. You've been working for 8 hours. You come home, and you've been working at a mind-numbing job, and I've talked about this before. Everybody, there was it was one of those financiers. He said something like, I think it was the Rockefellers. He said that he didn't want a nation. There were like he had a lot of influence, and people were all talking about what kind of how he could use his influence to make our nation a better nation, and he was trying to explain to people what he wanted for our country. And finally, he just said, I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers. And this was around the time when they established the 40-hour work week. And what it is they want you so busy that you can't think. They want you so busy that you don't know that your nation is being undermined, that you don't know the principles of freedom that our nation was founded upon. And people don't. They don't know it all. When I was in school, they taught us that George Washington was a great failure. And he was when he first got started. He worked for the English, and he lost many battles, but he gained all kinds of experience. And he was a tremendous hero. He was a tremendous hero in the Revolutionary War. He would stay up late into the night writing letters for all kinds of things. He would write letters to people for money. He would write letters to other people that were working with him, other generals and other officers. How to keep themselves organized and stuff. He would work up late into the night, and he would be writing letters by candlelight. And he got to the point towards the end of his military career, he was going blind because he was staying up late at night while writing so many letters. And he would do things like, the men absolutely loved him. He was a great man. He was a tremendous man. He knew his history. He knew everybody wanted to make him king. And he said, no, he knew enough about, the principles of government that were being explored and stuff to know that that nobility was a really bad thing. That these people feel that they undermine our economy. They by setting up all their charters and getting government monopolies on things, and it's a really bad thing. And he knew that he was against the whole thing, and he was a great hero. He would this was a time in history when you went to battle, you fought at the front. Like, if you were a leader, you fought at the front and you led the men in a charge, and I mean physically in front of them. He was brave. He would go through, there were battles he would go through where he would get a horse. He would ride on horseback, and he would lead these men in a charge, and the horse would be shot out from under him like 3 times, and some soldier would run a horse out to him so he could continue to lead, and he would go through battles where his clothes would be shot full of holes. And he somehow survived. He was never hit. He was a brave soldier. He was an incredibly brave soldier, and he was smart, and he loved his men. He would do things like he would go behind the lines, and he would say encouraging things to the men. And he was like, he was upper class. He was like from the class of nobility. He spoke English in an entirely different way than the common man did, but he would just go behind the lines and say things to people and cheer them and try to make them not, and the men were like, they loved him. They absolutely loved him. And he was a great success. Our country would have never come into being without George Washington. But when I was in school, they were, we had teachers that were saying, he's an idiot. Well, they didn't actually use the language they didn't say he was an idiot, but they were teaching that he was a failure. He was a failure in military. He was the most successful military leader we probably ever had in this country, and one of the greatest heroes, the greatest hero ever in our country. But that's what they're teaching in our schools, and they have to if they're going to undermine this country. It's the media, it's the educational system. We have to teach our children that the principles this country are founded upon are equality under the law, and it doesn't say anything. It doesn't matter whether you're black or white or red or blue or green. And that's the way the law works. And that's why this country has become so great. That's why slaves have worked their way out of slavery. That's why black people are free now. That it's because of the principles of our government that it was founded upon. And there are people that are they're dishonest people, and they're just other Hitlers. They're racists that are trying to teach people at our schools a history that our country never had to begin with. They're just they've got something deeply wrong with them, and they're like Hitler. They're nuts. They're cranks, and they're racists. They think there's something to be gained. A lot of these people they know that they can come to notoriety, to popularity, if they can polarize people. If they can say, like in Hitler, he was like, we Aryans, we're better than everybody else, and we deserve to run the world, and they're doing the same thing today, and they were saying things like, the black people and all other peoples of the world, they're inferior to us, and we should run everything. And there are people today saying that about white people. They're all big. It's kind of a twisted kind of illogic, because they're racist themselves. To say that white people think any certain thing is a racist thing. You say that people of any skin color uh, think a certain way about anything. Like white people are good at math. White people aren't all good at math. I've met plenty of black people that are good at math. It isn't in the genes of white people or black people or any people to be good at math. It so happens that because of cultural distinctions and the way people are brought up in different cultures, sometimes you find people that are good at math. You find a lot of people in India that are good at math. But that doesn't mean that if you're born Indian, you're going to be naturally good at math or have a gift at it. Uh, uh, but what it is these people are racist, and it's like you have to watch out for this kind of thing. It's happened all throughout history. That people stir people up and polarize them, and they know that if they can stir people up and lead people in a cause, and especially get them to give them money, they can be wealthy, they can be powerful, they can get things, they can be popular. People will praise them. Oh, you're doing so much for our people, and they're really just stirring up all kinds of strife, and it's really awful. Uh, Now, anyway, as I've talked about a lot of things here. Um, so it's a great country. It's a great country we have. It's a great history we have, and there are all these people in education, in the media, and they're bullies. They're bullies that they try to make you fill you with a feeling. Self-loathing is something that if you have self-loathing, self-loathing is self-hatred. It's never anything that's good. They're trying to teach people. They're teaching white and black people self-loathing. Well, I hate myself because of my whiteness. I used to have a white friend. You can be some black person, or I don't. They're teaching black people that if they don't think like the racists want them to think, that they're bad. They're acting white. And some people are just trying to be fair to other people and not judge them before they know anything about them. And say, well, you're of this skin color, so you think this certain way, and it's like that's not how things work. You should look, and this country, it's about equality under the law. And it doesn't matter whether you're white or black or whatever. You can sue somebody for doing something to you that's illegal. It's a wonderful thing. That's equality under the law. And that's what's made this country great. That's what's that's what made so many people want to come and live here. So many people still want to come and live here. Do people want to come and live in China or Russia? No, they want to come here. They want to come here because it's a great country to live in. It's a wonderful country. And there are people from all different kinds of races all over the world now more than ever that want to come here. It's a wonderful country, and it's about it. What made this country great? We already have the principle of equality, and all this talk about this racist talk and this false history, and our history is not being taught in our schools at all, and the news is all a big distraction from what's going on. When you watch the news, it's all just a big distraction. They don't talk about what's really the problem. We've got a president that's a pedophile. And nobody seems to understand it or pay attention because they're listening to all his wonderful smooth talk about how he's going to do all these wonderful things for him, and we all cheer for him. We go to rallies and we cheer for them, and they're betraying us. They're people that that just want to have. If you look at like Trump, he's a guy that you can tell. Nobody wants to listen to him. And he was on this show he was on this show, that show, I forget what it was, but he's the boss, and and he faces all these people down and tells them they're not doing a good job and humiliating them. And wow, isn't he? And of course, I think that wasn't very fulfilling for him. But now but he used to, and now he's in jail. But anyway, he would give talks, and he would say, and like, and he tells people what they want to hear, and they cheer, and it's like he doesn't have anything. He's got, he, but I suppose, but I really think that what we really do us the most good is if we focus on what the mainstream news isn't telling us, and also just focus on the fact that they're hiding all kinds of things. They're a distraction, and they distract us with pretty girls and fancy clothes, and not with what's really going on. Now, I also want to say something to all you pretty girls that work in the news that are actually reporting on what's going on. Just keep doing what you're doing, and telling what you know, and the pretty and the handsome young men too. I don't think everything's gonna. I don't know if everything's gonna change suddenly. You're gonna start seeing older people with more experience, but I think a lot of these people, especially these young women, I don't know. I see someone like Candace Owen, and she's somebody, to me, she seems like somebody who talks to older people and listens to them, and I think that's where a lot of these young girls who are making a difference and actually talking about what matters are really, they're getting their ideas from. They're getting ideas from people that talk sense and have experience. Of course, that's why we have parents, because they know things, they have experience, and they know things, and they love us, and they don't want us to get into trouble. So, but anyway, that's what's going on, and we have a false history. And you can't, you can't take a country as great as ours and destroy it without deceiving people. Without deceiving, you have to deceive them. You have to somehow make sure they never really understand what this country is about. You have to make sure that they never understand the principles that this country was founded upon. You have to make sure they never understand the principles of government, to understand the principles of economy. And for heaven's sakes, the principle of the economy is like, if you want to get something, you're going to have to work for it. That's one of the basic principles of the economy. The government can't give you everything. You deserve this and you deserve that. You deserve our love for sure. You deserve God's love, and you deserve to be treated decently, especially if you treat others decently. But there are these people that'll just tell you, oh, you deserve all this stuff, and you've never done anything, and they can't deliver. They just can't deliver. They're just people, smooth talkers, that are trying to get, they know that the economy's good enough where they can pay them. The founding fathers weren't paid. They weren't politicians. They didn't get money like our politicians. A few years ago, not a few years, many years ago, like the first thing that some senators and congressmen did, I'll never forget it. Once they got elected, they decided they were all going to give themselves a big raise. That was the very first thing they did. Anyway, that's what's going on. You shouldn't really try to. I would don't talk. I mean, don't waste time with the mainstream news. And be very careful about what you hear from your teachers. There are. I would get out of school. I mean, if you're in school, I would rather have. I would almost. The public schools, they're brainwashing all our children, and I would do everything I could to get my child out of it, or if I was a child, to get out of the public school. It's a lot of bullying. It's just a lot of bullying, and there's a good chance your kid could get molested in a bathroom by some other kid. And and the other thing I talked about the other day, all the homosexuals. All the homosexuals that were molested by by bullies and stuff like that, and now they're on my side. And they killed the surveillance killed that one nice guy. The one guy that figured out that I believe in being nice to people, and that I don't have anything against the homosexuals, and but what it is there's so many. If are you one of these people? How many of you people were like molested in a bathroom and you knew that your teacher knew it? How many of you? Yeah, just raise your voice. How many of you were like molested by a teacher in a bathroom and you knew your teacher knew about it and wasn't going to do anything about it? How many of you has that happened to? I would say, I think it was many, 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 many. There was a problem with that. I don't think it ever happened in my school that I went to when I was young, but I went to an entirely different school. I went to a school. They still had the super schools. I call them super schools. They have like 3,000. I call any school that has like 3,000 kids in it a super school. I think our high school had like 800 kids in it. And it was because we lived in a rural area where the population was very dispersed, and nobody could, they brought kids in from buses from all around the area, and it was quite a long bus ride for some of them to bring them in. I mean, some kids had a bus ride that was like an hour, to get into school. So what it was we had very small schools, and what it was I think when you go to these super schools, it's a lot easier to get anally raped in a bathroom because there's so many kids. It's like nobody knows. The teachers don't know you as well. Like when you're in a small school, the teachers know who you are. The teachers remember you. And I got a much better education. The teachers they feel that they have to not they the teachers they would know, like, if a kid had problems and spend more time with them if they had problems learning, and at the same time if they knew like a child had talent, they would spend more time with them or do something to see that they got some kind of their talent will be cultivated. Now we've got this thing, this no child left behind kind of mentality, and it's not leaving a child behind. It's dragging all the children down to the child with the least amount of capabilities. We're going to slow everybody down, all the kids down and bring them down to the level of the child that has the least amount of talents to develop. And it's not, and it just weakens everybody. I mean, we can't take that's not equality, and it's not. It's God gives. We're supposed to develop people's talents. I mean, that's part of what school's about, to bring them to be the best that they can be at whatever they are. And if there are kids that are not talented, then like some kids that have learning disabilities, we still need to focus on them and make sure they learn the essentials, like how to read and do the things that they're going to need to do to survive in life. And that's called just being decent. But this No Child Left Behind, and the other thing is, kids need to learn that if they do wrong, they're going to be punished. And we have kids in our schools that are threatening the teachers. When they get to be junior high and high school age, they're big enough to fight with a teacher, and they're intimidating the teachers. And of course, if they can intimidate the teachers, they can intimidate the children, and then the children aren't safe. Children need to learn, even at an early age, that if they're going to harm others, they're going to be punished. And these children that are bullies in the schools, they need to be kicked out. They need, it's like, if you're going to, that's what punishment is. You take things away from people. And I'm not for cruel and unusual punishment, but I'm for, if these kids are going to bully their teachers or bully the other kids, they need to they can go to jail, or they don't have to go to school. That they should be punished. And the kids, the innocent children in our schools deserve this. They deserve, if you don't punish bad people, if you don't, and there are bad children, there are bad children that do bad things. If you don't punish people, you're harming the innocent people, because what it is then they're free to harm them. It's like, and you're teaching, and probably the problem that we have with bullies today, in our media, and it all starts in our schools, because they've been bullied themselves. They bully people, and they think that everything is built upon a hierarchy of bullying other people, and they've been getting away with it for years, and they think they can just do it for the rest of their lives. And this is a really bad mentality. And when the Chinese take over, they're going to beat the daylights out of the more violent people, and even kill them, and put them in jail and stuff like that. But it's all about weakening our country. It's all about weakening our society, and it's working. So this is one reason to get your kids out of school, because they aren't safe, and the teachers aren't protecting them. And one thing I would say is, if they really want to protect our kids, they should have more teachers. But what they do is they hire more. They want to hire more teachers than they do. And what they do is they get more administrators. They don't get more teachers, really. And what it is they need teachers to do things like patrol the bathrooms, and keep the kids from raping each other or beating each other up in the bathroom. For heaven's sake, when I was a kid, I was afraid to go to the bathroom, and there was always the same kids. It was always the same ones, and it was the bullies and their friends, and they would all be in the bathroom at the same time, to push people around, and to frighten everybody at the same time. I mean, what are the teachers doing? Why are they letting these kids? It's like the teachers don't even seem to realize what's going on. These kids get in the bathrooms. I would there were a few different bathrooms in my junior high school, and I used to run around. I would run to one bathroom, and I would check to see if there was anyone in there, and then I would run to another one. I would be running around, in between bathrooms to find a safe bathroom to go into, and so it's a really awful thing, these kids, if they're going to be bad, they need to learn young, and if they kick these kids out of school, there's a better chance that they won't go to jail as they get older. If they learn their lesson, then so you're not helping anyone with keeping these kids in school, these violent children in school. You're hurting everyone. You're hurting everyone, and it's not fair to the kids. It's not fair. The worst thing is, it's not fair to innocent people, because when you let the guilty go free, you're punishing the innocent. Anyway, that's what I have to say about that. Anything else I want to say? I was really grateful to go to my prep school, because there was so much less bullying there. There was so much less bullying. The kids seemed to, the teachers would, and the other thing about that school was the teacher. The one thing they found out through research, it's a very simple principle, and it's easy to see why it works, is that if you lower if you make the teacher to student ratio really low, like if there's only if you've got one teacher teaching only a few students, the students learn a whole lot more, because what it is the teachers can pay more attention to each student. They get to know the student better. They get to know if he's learning or not, and what ways he learns better, and what he responds to or she responds to. So that's a really wonderful thing. But like I said, the public schools, they always want to hire more teachers, and it has to do with the unions. The unions want to they want to hire more. The more teachers they get involved, the more dues they get, and the unions are much more motivated to make money for themselves than they are to increase the quality of education, because they make more money, they can hire more people in the unions, they have more money, and then when they have more money, they lobby Congress, and then Congress will they lobby Congress more, and then Congress will hire more teachers or increase the wages of teachers, and then they make more, and then they can collect more dues. It's this vicious cycle. The teachers' unions are really behind ruining our nation. Anyway, that's what's going on. That's what's going on in a nutshell. That's what I have to say for now. I'm grateful you people are so interested in what I'm saying, and I get a chance to talk to you, and you're talking about the things that I'm talking about, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my Savior Jesus Christ, who's brought us all together. I'm grateful for God. I'm grateful to know the plan of salvation. I'm grateful to know that this life is only a test, that I have a life to look forward to. I'm grateful for Easter and the resurrection of Jesus Christ, the resurrection I know I'll have, and with the people that I love. I know that what we're going through is worthwhile here, and the things that we suffer, many of the things that we suffer and do, and which I know many people would do exactly the same things that I'm doing right here for the sake of everyone else, that these things are worthwhile, and even though they may seem bad. We talk about carrying your cross. Jesus would say, carry your cross and follow me. We all have, Jeffrey R. Holland said it, he's an apostle. To carry your cross, there are things we do. We know they're going to take us to a place of suffering. We know they're going to do it. But it's worth it. It's worth it. And, I want you kids to know that there are things you're going to be. One day you're going to have kids of your own, you're going to have a family of your own, and you're going to want to, you'll be willing to suffer for them, and you'll be glad to do it. You'll be glad to do it, and when you have faith in Jesus Christ, when you know that He loves us so much that God was willing to send His only begotten Son to this planet so He could suffer the pains for our sins, and know that we could be forgiven, to know our sufferings. And Jesus, He didn't know our sufferings till He really performed the atonement, till He really suffered in Gethsemane, till He was nailed on the cross, until He died of shame on the cross. He really didn't know. And I guess I would like to close this by repeating again, He knew what it was like. There are many religious leaders that are, just leaders. We look to people in our government, the people in my ward here in Phoenix. At first, they really felt that, if these government agents told them I was a bad person, then because they worked for the government, that made it true. And there are many people that are like, Jesus knew what it was like to be a person that when He was on the cross, they were making fun of Him. They were saying things like, "Oh, if you were really the Son of God, come down from that cross. What are you doing? Do you really think you're the Son of God? We don't think you're the Son of God. You would come down from that cross if you were to be crucified. It was kind of like the stocks. In old times, like if someone had done someone bad, they would put them in stocks, and people would make fun of them, put them to shame. And Jesus knew what it was like to be put to shame for being a false authority, and that's what these people. I feel bad for these people that are persecuting me. I know He died for their sins. I know that He knew what they're going through. I want to say that there's a little bit difference. People, we can put each other to shame because we're imperfect, but Jesus was not put to shame. One of the apostles talked about this one time, Brother Scott, Richard G. Scott. God, a lot of people will say shame is like when you feel a separation from God. Now, Jesus knew this was going to happen before He was on the cross. I think Heavenly Father let Him know. And what happened was, God separated Himself from Jesus just when He was going to die of shame. And it was so that we could see him, we would know that Jesus died a shame on the cross, and he knows what it feels like to be put to shame for being a false authority, and he knows what these surveillants are going through, and I want them to know that. I pray that they get a testimony of that. And I guess this weekend, I would like for everybody to pray that. I haven't been fasting. I'm still kind of in this security crisis and just having trouble sleeping and stuff like that. And I think I'll be better off if I don't fast this weekend. But I want to thank you for praying for me, and I hope that you'll pray for these people to gain a testimony that God knows what these people are going through. I think they've had a tough. These people haven't exactly had all the advantages in life, and I know I wouldn't be. I just know that Jesus knows. I want to pray that I want to pray that I'm hoping we all pray that. And I'm talking. I talk about all the people on this planet. I know people from other planets are listening to these transmissions too. And I hope that you'll pray that too, that these people will know that Jesus Christ knows what they feel like, and that he died for their sins. He died of shame on the cross. He knows exactly what he knows all our sufferings, and he stands ready to forgive us. And he loves us, and I love him, and I know many of you do too, and I love you. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.